Hello Year 8 and welcome back to your second music lesson. This is your second lesson on minimalism and rhythm. Quickly to remind you, if you're looking for any of these videos, they'll be found on the school YouTube channel. This one will probably be titled under something along the lines of Year 8 or Y8 Music Lesson 2, which you'll probably know because you're watching this. Uploading work to class charts, please make sure that you upload it using a Word document, a PowerPoint. You can screenshot your work, or you can even just take a photo of your written work and upload it. Please make sure, though, it is clear and easy to understand. Your research project. Last week I set you a research project. This was on minimalism. The deadline for this project is the 12th of February 2021. So it's the 12th of the 2nd, 2021. So you have about 4 weeks to finish and submit this project. 4 weeks seems like a lot of time, but I promise you it will run out very quickly. So please make sure you remain consistent and do these slides as I ask you to do them. And lastly, if you have not done last week's lessons or previous lessons, please make sure you get them done because it will help you as we go along. So for this lesson, I'd like you to understand and add rests and semiquavers into your rhythms. So the red box on the left, you are able to read and write and create basic rhythms. So basic rhythms are what we've been creating with tea and coffee. So we can have a rhythm like tea, tea, coffee, tea, which is a good rhythm of its own, but it can be a bit simplistic at times. So we start to add other ideas to make it more interesting. So with the yellow box in the middle, as it says, I'm able to add rests to my rhythm to make it more interesting. So we can have like tea, coffee, rest, coffee, which is kind of a bit more interesting because it's creating that different space, that change. And lastly, the green box on the right, once you've done the first two boxes, you are able to read and create your own rhythms using rests, crotchets, semiquavers and quavers. So all four joined together, creating a much more interesting idea and much more interesting rhythms because there's so much more change and speed in the rhythm. First off, we're looking to crotchet rests. Now, we've looked at crotchets and quavers before, which is the tea and the coffee. A crotchet being tea, which you only hit once every pulse. So if you have a pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, tea, 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 tea. So that would be a crotchet, which is tea. And then we have coffee, where we have 2 hits every pulse. So coffee, because it's 2 syllables. So we have a pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, coffee, 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 coffee. Okay, so those two rhythms can combine together to create interesting rhythms, like I just did. Tea, tea, coffee, tea could be. Now we start to add a thing called a crotchet rest. This means that you do not play for 1 pulse. And to help us with that, we usually use the word shh to remind us just not to play. And it's the squiggly line is the symbol for it, as you can see the arrow pointing towards. So we could create a rhythm from that. I could do tea, shh, coffee, tea. Tea, shh, coffee, tea. And we have our 4 pulses there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tea, shh, coffee, tea. And we've created a very different rhythm adding that rest in. So for your first task, I'd like you to see how many different 4 pulse rhythms you can create using 2 crotchets, 1 quaver, and 1 crotchet rest. So make sure to write out each rhythm clearly and also use the symbols. So don't just write the words, the letters like tea and coffee. Write the dot and the symbol and the line coming off it, the actual symbols for tea, coffee, and shh for the crotchet, the quaver, and the crotchet rest. So the first one I might give you is the one I just showed you, which is tea, rest, coffee, tea. And then you can try and jumble and move around the rhythms, the tea, the crotchets, the quavers, and the crotchet rests, and see how you can create a different rhythm just using either 2 crotchets, 1 quaver, and 1 crotchet rest. Once you have done that, we're looking into semiquavers. Now, a semiquaver is where you form 4 claps or hits in quick succession with 1 pulse. So when we have 1 pulse, if this is our pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we use crotchets, which is just tea, we do 1 hit every pulse, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Tea, 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 tea. So it's really easy. It's just 1 hit every pulse. But with semiquavers, we now have to do 4 hits every pulse. So every click, there should be 4 hits. So it's really quick. And to help us with that, we start to use 4-syllable phrases. So here I've put them below. We use watermelon, and we also use mashed potato. So if I give us a pulse, you should say the word watermelon every click. Watermelon, 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 which should start to give you an idea of how many times you should hit every pulse. Watermelon, 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 watermelon. So it's quite quick. And then, so please make sure you get a good sense of pulse. Get used to that pulse. Say the word watermelon or mashed potato, and then try and clap it. With that, I put a rhythm at the top right to show you how they sort of add together. So we've got here coffee, coffee, watermelon, tea. It's quite an interesting rhythm. For this task, however, I would like you to write down and clap a 4-pulse rhythm using 1 crotchet, 1 quaver, 1 semiquaver, and 1 crotchet rest. So we're taking all 4, adding them all together in one rhythm, and then having a go and clapping. You'll see how interesting the rhythm can be. Please really be careful with the semiquavers that you're clapping up to the right speed, and make sure you've got a good sense of pulse. Again, there should be 4 claps or 4 hits every pulse, every click. Watermelon, 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 watermelon. So please be wary of that. Lastly, once you've done those 2 tasks, I'd like you to just continue with your sight reading. So this is how you get good at understanding the rhythms and memorizing them and being able to recall them quickly. I'd like you to write down the words for this rhythm because it'll help you out with learning the rhythms. I'd like to see how far you can clap without making a mistake. So take your time with it, have a good sense of pulse, and yeah, try clapping from start to finish with a really good sense of pulse, with a really clear pulse. So I'll give you the first line, some nice, and you can have a go, try it back, and then you can try the rest of it from start to finish all the way to the second end of the second line. So the first bit, as you can see, is coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, watermelon, coffee, tea. Coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, watermelon, coffee, tea. And here I had a really good sense of pulse with that as well. It's really, really clear. You can do it a bit slower than that if it needs help, but you start from there and you go all the way to the end of the second line. See how well you do it, and make sure you write down the rhythms and the words so I can read them as well. Once you've done all that, can you please continue with your minimalist research project? The criterion examples can be found on class charts under research project. You should be completing slides 3 and 4 during this lesson. It does not need to be uploaded yet, as I said, but it does need to be uploaded by the 12th of February. So you've got about 4 weeks to continue getting it done. So make sure you remain consistent. Last week we did slides 1 and 2. This week I want you to try and do slides 3 and 4 to create further build upon your research. Well done, keep working well, and I'll talk to you next week.